Hey folks, we are back at iamdeveloper.live. My name's Nick Taylor, your host. Happy 2023, and I'm super excited to be hanging out with Brian Rinaldi today. Brian, how you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. We were talking before the stream earlier today, and I just got back from Costa Rica last night, so I'm kind of running on fumes, but I've had 4 coffees, so I'm still pretty excited to be chatting today with you. So uh, yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having me on after Costa Rica. Because I would have been like, I need a day to decompress, but you're
yeah.
jumping right in.
I'll probably fall apart in about 3 hours. Uh, yeah. So we're gonna be talking about edge functions today, serverless edge. But before we get into all that, for folks that might not know who you are, I'm gonna drop some links for you. But if you could just kind of give a kind of like a short who you are, what you're up to these days, stuff you're excited about, maybe.
Cool. Yeah. So I have, let's see, the short version would be been a developer for like 20 some odd years. Been in DevRel for over a decade. I currently work at LaunchDarkly. So for those folks who don't know, LaunchDarkly is basically like feature flags as a service. That makes it sound really simple, but it's actually pretty complicated. It's a lot of fun. Uh, I know you use feature flags a lot, so happy to talk about feature flags anytime. But yeah, so I'm a developer experience engineer there. A lot of my work is like around working on how to integrate LaunchDarkly into different frameworks and tools and all the stuff like that, right? Tutorials and things like that about it.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. That's great. And speaking of launch directly, something we're going to talk about is A/B testing or feature testing, like you're saying today. But um, before we get to a little far ahead of ourselves there, let's kind of talk a bit about serverless edge, because I know when I first became exposed to it, I had a lot of confusion about a lot of things, and I'm still probably some things that I don't know, but for sure. But for folks that might be new to even serverless, like I guess maybe kind of break down just quickly. We don't have to go super deep, but like what serverless is and what's the differences between that and serverless edge, if you're cool with that.
Yeah. And so like, obviously it's a very broad terms. Generally like I'll say serverless, but I'm usually speaking specifically about like serverless functions.
Yeah.
Because I tend to come at it from like a web developer, JavaScript developer, Jamstack approach. And typically when I'm talking about serverless, it's usually like a serverless function or a serverless database or something like that, which is essentially, it's basically, I don't have to care about the server. Somebody else is deploying, caring about the servers. And these are functions that usually very finite in scope that perform some kind of backend action for my web application or whatever application I'm building. Um,
Mhm.
so a typical serverless function would get deployed to a single region. So like if we're even thinking like in Netlify terms, because that tends to be how I deploy things, if I add functions to my application, whether it's through like Netlify's functions stuff or say a Next.js application has APIs or, an API roots, those would get deployed as a serverless function, like say a Lambda on AWS. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And those exist in a single region. So like when I'm messing with AWS, I'm in the East Coast. I'm typically deploying to US East 1 just because most of my stuff is demos anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so, and that function exists there. And so my application on let's using Netlify again. My application on Netlify is deployed to all of these CDNs, right? Like, so all of my assets. So that front end that you're connecting to is deployed to the CDN and it's calling a function, say from the front end to like do some dynamic capabilities. And that function is in US East 1.
Yeah.
And for you, that's okay. You're in Montreal, but like if you're in Japan or you're in, Europe, like it's going all the way across the world to do that. We don't
Mhm.
typically notice that much, but that's the key difference between that Um, edge functions, one of the key differences between edge
Yeah.
functions and regular serverless functions, it takes that very similar structure of a serverless function. In fact, most of them look almost identical. Well, we can get deeper into the differences, and it just deploys it. It replicates it across regions around the globe.
Hmm.
So not necessarily every CDN location depends on the provider, but like it
Yeah.
replicates it globally so that you then connect to the one closest to you
Okay. Yeah.
whenever that runs.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember when I worked at Dev too, I got a chance to do a live stream with Sunil Pai, who used to work at Cloudflare. And
Yeah.
he was kinda joking, but not, at one point, he's like, like you were saying, you wanna bring things as close to the users as possible, and he was saying, like, "Who knows, maybe one day your washing machine will be where the edge is, like, that close and right into your house." I don't know how realistic that is, but you never know. So, it just made me kinda chuckle a bit, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's super cool that we can, because like already when we're like for it's not just Netlify, it's wherever you deploy, but there's a CDN and the CDNs are in regions as well. So that's close to the user as possible as well. But the application itself is what you were referring to is with when you're calling these functions and stuff. And I think uh it opens up a lot of capability. It's not just that it's close to them. I'm gonna drop a link to a really great article you wrote about the promise of serverless edge. And oh, hey, GC Web Dev.
Yeah. I
I
was
didn't.
trying
I
to do
didn't.
a wave, but I didn't realize there's no wave. So
Oh,
now let's go.
yeah. No, there's. I guess there's no emote for Wave. But yeah, no. I just saw the chat.
You'll get the point.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, thanks
uh,
for hopping in there, Anthony. Good to see you. Yeah, no, so not only is it as close as possible to the user, uh, you know, r- depending on how many regions there are, but like basically as close as possible for a particular provider, and it opens up other capabilities too, because since it's closer, there's information like you can get like the time zone they're in, potentially like the city they're in, and so on. Like, I don't know if all the providers uh, enable all that contextual information. I think they do, but I'm not positive.
I've looked at a ton of them. A lot of them do. Not everybody does. But yeah, a
Okay.
lot of them already automatically give you like, variables you can access to get details about where the user's location,
Mhm.
IP, et cetera. Like, so some of that is available, which is, it's really nice, especially like when you're thinking, um, in terms of like, okay, I have a Jamstack application. Maybe some of this stuff is static and I can actually manipulate it for the user base at the edge, right? That's where it gets really cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's and I'll drop a link to my coworker Salma. She has a great blog post on personalization. You reference this in your blog post, but just wanted to share that as well. And yeah, I think this is super cool because there's so many ways you can build a website these days. You can go static, you can go like incrementally build things, you can just go full
Yeah.
SSR and then cache with just web tech, like it's
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's like
It's
I
overwhelming.
it is overwhelming, and I've been in doing web dev for a long time, but every time I think about all these things, I'm like, I always feel so bad for somebody just entering the space, and not in a negative way, but it's just like it's a lot to take in when they just want to start learning something, and it's anyways, that's just a little side note,
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, I was literally writing about this topic this morning for someone that I'm working on. It's you know, even if I think back to like when I got into Jamstack and I got into it because it was simple, um, straightforward, and then it's gotten a lot more complex where it's like, okay, where am I rendering? When am I rendering? All these
yeah,
different rendering methods, and so on and so forth. But I actually to speak to Rudik's World's question.
Yeah.
So that gets a little deeper in the weeds than we've gotten so far, but like some of them actually do run Node.js at the edge. Most of them don't do that. So they are different runtimes that a lot of them do support WASM, at least the ones that I've looked into. So it depends on the provider. The runtime really depends on the provider. It's something like worth looking into. As an example, well, Netlify uses Dino deploy, or you can
Yeah.
straight use Dino deploy on its own, and that obviously runs Dino. So you can do a lot of Node stuff in Dino, but not everything in Node works in Dino. Then Cloudflare has their own workers environment that they call it, they open sourced it and they called it Workerd, which is a
Yeah.
weird name, but
It's hard
um,
to pronounce always, I find. I'm like, am I saying
yeah,
it right?
yes. And so it is, uh, I forget exactly how they, you know, they define the words are kind of evading me as far as how their runtime works. But that, so Cloudflare Workers has a similar runtime to some other providers, like Fastly has one that's very similar to that. I mean, you kind of have to like, it's one of the things we were going to talk about. Like, I think some of the difficulties of jumping into edge stuff is
Yeah.
that you don't even think about it. You're like, oh, okay, I write serverless functions in Node. So I'm sure I could write an edge function, not even realizing, oh, hey, runtime's different.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily even use the libraries I'm used to using. I have to use like a lot of them, each of them seem to have like their own different set of APIs that are built in. So you
Yeah.
have to like investigate that. It's not, I'd say at the moment, and it's very new, it's less affordable than even your serverless function would be, right? Because I
Mhm.
can actually probably take the code of my Lambda and dump that into another provider and it'll work, even if I
Yeah.
make the structure around it, but the code inside will probably work. But that's not necessarily the case in edge function stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I dropped a link in the chat to the Winter CG organization, and this is uh I have a feeling you're familiar with this, but
Yeah.
it's so basically they're working on standardizing things, and so like so like for example, Cloudflare has their own runtime for the edge, but a lot what you're seeing happening is a lot of these things are adopting web standards. So for example, Dino, all all these edge runtimes now have native fetch, response request objects, and these are kind of like the I guess the primitives that allow you to build up on these things for the edge. And so to your point about like, you can't do certain things because that's only a node, for example. So this is like just making it's really just abstracting like this is like the base set of APIs you can use across the board. At least that's the hope of this. Uh, I I always have to read it up what it means. So WinRCG is Web Interoperable Runtime Security Group. Because every time I see winter, I think of Game of Thrones and winter is coming, and that's all that pops in my head. But I think this is interesting, and there's also like just a lot of movement in I mean, this is not even necessarily Edge, but like just in the JavaScript world. I mean, uh, Dino's pretty mature now. Bun is
Mhm.
the new hotness on the scene. It's I don't know if
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's in production anywhere yet. There's just a lot of exciting stuff happening there. And I think one nice thing as a side effect is Node.js is actually being pushed to actually move a little faster. I mean, they were already moving pretty quickly anyways, but I mean, just, getting these things in. So like native fetch came in and I think it was experimental in Node 16. And I think it's officially in Node 18 now. I'm not positive about that, but um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, it finally came to me. It's V8 isolates. That's what
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
workers run. They run in V8 isolates, which Fastly also does V8 isolates. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's just there's a lot of providers, and right now it is very like Wild Westy kind of thing. So, um,
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said there. Things are changing quickly. I hopefully it'll get a little more standardized, but for the moment, you kind of like just kind of got to know what provider you're going to and work around that. I mean, it gets even a little more complicated because if you take it another layer, like sometimes I'm using a framework that actually like Next.js will automatically
Yeah.
deploy stuff to the edge. Right. But if I'm deploying to Vercel, I don't know this 100% certain, but I'm like 99% certain that if I deploy a regular serverless function, that serverless function is actually a Lambda and it gets deployed to AWS. But if I'm
Yeah.
deploying an edge function, that edge function gets deployed to Cloudflare. Um,
Yeah. That's what I've
so it's
understood
workers under
too.
the hood. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the same thing with Netlify. Netlify, like it's AWS and then Data. Now,
Yeah.
and that
Exactly.
normally, like, and to me, it's like you might not even think about that, right? Like, or if I took the same site on Next.js, theoretically, then moved it, said, you know what, I'm going to move it from Vercel to Netlify. And now my edge runtime has switched. You know, and there might be things that I'd have to test and consider like that. Oh, does this actually work in the different
Yes.
runtime? You know,
No, for sure. And this
yeah.
kind of ties into the work I do because that's what a lot of our job is like making sure that if you're going to deploy a framework on Netlify, we have to make sure it works. So yeah, so for edge functions, we wire it up so it'll go to Dino, our edge offering, and then the rest is Lambdas and stuff. But yeah, we have like a it's not we don't call it plugins, but we have like at least for Next.js right now, we have like the Netlify Next.js runtime, and that kind of helps with all those things you were mentioning. So
Mhm.
we really want to get everything just working properly on Netlify, regardless if you were working if you had Next.js somewhere else before. So
Yeah.
um,
Right. So for Versal Edge, he says it's AWS. I'm basing this on my research, which actually was when Versal announced their Edge stuff. Actually, if you follow a thread on Hacker News, someone from Versal does respond and say, yes, under the covers, it's Cloudflare. Um,
yeah,
so I, um, but process.env is fairly, common. I think maybe the process.env does work in Cloudflare. 'Cause
that I
it's
don't know.
just kind of standardized in a way, like not officially, but I've seen it work elsewhere. So
Yeah. We
anyway,
have like for process.env for Dino has dino.env. But like for example, when we because I'm wrapping up the work for Remix and Netlify Edge. And so we have like a polyfill for process.env because it's required during the build process. So we basically just, you know, the Dino environment variables just get popped into the process.env that we kind of polyfill on the global, which generally you don't want to be doing stuff like that, but this is really related to like the build and stuff. We don't
mhm.
you typically if you're in your function within Dino, like your edge function, then if you needed a variable, you'd probably do dino.env.get, for example, instead. But again, we're kind of getting into the weeds, I guess, a bit,
Yeah, it is.
but
But it's an important, like, it is something worth thinking about when you think about moving to edge stuff. Because
oh yeah,
even
for sure.
even from the fact of like, okay, one of the big things that comes up is data, right? Like, and because obviously, I think most folks by now, like considering edge, started to realize, hey, I can move my function to the edge, but I didn't move my data to the edge. And if I
Yeah,
don't move my data to the edge, like, am I really gaining a ton by, by moving this to the edge? If my function that was in US East 1 that coexisted with my database that was in US East 1 now is deployed globally, but still calling my database in US East 1, how much have I really gained?
yeah.
I mean,
No, no, for
right,
sure.
as usual, it depends. But some providers like have data storage, like some have a KV, some have more complex data storage options, some have just caching. Um, it kind of goes, it depends on the provider. Everyone is different. And so how you can actually push some of that data to the edge is different depending on where you're deploying it. So like all of these
Yeah.
things, it's like, you got to do your research before you jump in. Which is
Hmm.
that's what my article is all about. Is like, okay, but that's different than you're being told like, hey, this solves all your problems. Like, hey, just move it to the edge. Application will be
Yeah.
faster. And it's just so simple. It's like just writing regular, functions, whatever. And it's like, okay, it's as usual. It's a little more complex than
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. And I know, yeah, like speaking of like databases and stuff, like I think I'm trying to remember the name of the Cloudflare one. Is it R2 or is that,
Yeah, yeah. R2. Yeah,
yeah,
they're replicated. It's a replicated SQL database. So the read only replicates across all the nodes,
yeah,
but the write is always in a single location.
yeah. And
So
I think it's still kind of early days. Like, I'm not positive, but I think Dino is maybe working on a KV store. I'm not positive. I could have sworn I saw that on their roadmap. Maybe I'm dreaming, but I think like we're still kind of in the infancy of edge computing. Like it's been around for a few years, even though I feel like last year it really just kind of exploded on the scene, and
yeah,
I think the people working on the data issue are, we're gonna have some clear winners there. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. Like I don't know if Supabase replicates, but I know they use edge functions for some stuff. There's
yeah. They
stuff
have
like
they have edge functions. They're Dino
yeah,
based as well.
yeah,
Uh, I don't know that they. I think PlanetScale has a replicating the database that
yeah.
replicate. And as Anthony mentioned, it's D1. D1 is the
D1, yeah, okay,
D1.
got it.
R2 is, yeah, it's something different. So D1 is the replicating database for the edge on Cloudflare, which they have a KV, they have a cache, they have D1, and then they have like some object storage thing. So they have a bunch of data options.
Yeah.
But to answer the other question about from Rudix, basically,
Mhm.
Edge doesn't refer to the runtime. Like it's different. Edge refers to where like basically moving these functions, they get replicated across the globe. So like
Yeah.
the easiest example I can use would be to take AWS, right? Because most
Mhm.
people understand AWS. AWS, when I deploy a Lambda, that Lambda deploys to a single region, or I might be able to put multiple to region, but typically I'll deploy it to a region, right? Like to US East 1
Yeah.
as the example. Now, if I move to Lambda at Edge, well, that Lambda at Edge, once I put it into Lambda at Edge, it replicates across, I think they have 13 different regions for Lambda at Edge, right?
Yeah.
And then you can even move further to the edge on AWS, which is like you move to CloudFront functions. And those CloudFront functions are replicated across like, I don't know if it's like 150 or something. It's a lot of nodes all around
Okay.
the globe. So that's actually gets even closer to the user. So the edge refers to like, the edge refers to like how close it is to the end user. So basically moving stuff closer and closer to the user who's actually calling it, whether that user is an application or that user is a client, like a browser or something like that.
Yeah.
And to answer the other question, Lambda at Edge actually is straight, like it's a straight Lambda. It's really not different. I don't know that there's any critical differences between Lambda at Edge. Other than you can't, at least the last time I tried it, you cannot use environment variables when
Okay.
you deploy to
Oh,
Lambda at Edge. Because
I wonder why
I
that
think
is.
that has to do with the fact that they don't replicate that
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
So like, yeah,
Yeah. and there's some interesting things too. I know AWS recently added support for Node 18, so now you have fetch within serverless and I guess Lambda Edge too, probably if you enable it. Um, so that's
Yeah.
interesting too. And also just to kind of clear up some stuff, because like I used to mix up all this stuff all the time too. Like there's JavaScript, the language, then you have runtimes, like JavaScript runtimes like Node.js, Dino, Cloudflare workers. Those are the runtimes, and then you have the JavaScript engines too, which is like the browsers, like for example V8 for the stuff Jared Sumner is working on Bun that's using JavaScript core. Like, there's a lot of I don't know. I just know earlier on in my career, I just always just said it's just JavaScript, and I never made that distinction. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And yes, you wouldn't be able to use FS because the file system doesn't replicate either. So,
yeah, exactly.
basically you have to consider like that it takes this function and it makes copy across all the nodes, however many edge nodes it has. And that changes depending on the provider you're using. And so anything that doesn't replicate is something you really can't use because, you
Yeah,
can, yeah, it's not like I can't write, if I wrote something to the file system, well, I'd be writing it to the file system on that specific node. It's not, then
yeah,
if you hit another node that it doesn't exist. So yeah. Um,
yeah.
yeah. And we're
No, I'm
complicated stuff.
glad. Yeah, no, I'm glad Rudix World brought that up because that I wouldn't say limitation, but it's more like you have to think differently when you're writing for
Mm.
serverless, you know, because like it's all fun and fun, not fun and games, but it's all like works on my machine until you deploy. And so like, and this is again why there's stuff like, so FS isn't available, but that's why like in, for example, Dino and even Node now with enabling the fetch and stuff, that's kind of like your FS is just go fetch something instead of, like do fs dot read file or whatever. So
Exactly.
it's just it's just I feel like you're still kind of getting to the same thing, but you just have to approach it slightly different. So it's
Totally.
yeah,
Yep.
no, that's cool. All right, so Rudix has all the questions today. Um, so using Next.js, basically half the npm modules do not work when I use experimental edge. Yeah, that's
Yep.
probably it's not so much Next.js, it's the packages you're using. Yeah, and if they're using FS, the file system, that's probably why. Um,
Yeah. I would, okay. I don't know all of how they handle this internally, but it may also be that again, that's deploying to a worker, which doesn't
mhm.
support a lot of, unless they've like somehow created a runtime that supports a bunch of node stuff. Um, but Cloudflare workers, as a general rule, does not allow you to npm install stuff.
Yeah,
It's not a node runtime. So
yeah,
it-
exactly. And
yeah,
another interesting thing is because like, well, obviously I work with Dino at Netlify, but like I've just been listening to a lot of podcasts and just reading up more on it. And they have npm support in Dino now, so you can do like npm colon and then whatever your package is, and then it pulls it in as a URL. Because no Dino only works with URL, so there's some kind of resolver under the hood that like they've been working on this for like a year and a half, I think. So it's kind of interesting. So like, because one of at least in the case of Dino, I think they were saying like it's they want to increase adoption, and I think enabling Node.js packages, npm packages, was definitely something that will open the floodgates for a lot of people because there's a lot of things you just couldn't use before. But with the caveat that, like we were just saying about the file system, you're gonna have the same problem. If you pull in something that's reusing the file system, it's not gonna work most likely. But that's for anything edge, like we were saying. So there's
exactly.
just lots of I don't know. I find lots of really cool stuff happening in the space. Like I know we were talking about getting overwhelmed initially. Um, uh, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, I'm really excited about a lot of this stuff, you know, and
It's
it's like there's I don't know, like, it's because I've been doing professionally, I've been doing, like, working in web or since, like, 2002, and it's like there's so much amazing stuff that's happened over the years. I know people like to complain about stuff, and that's cool, but, you know, like, even going from, like, Webpack to Vite, you know, and I don't mean that in the sense, like, throwing shade at Webpack. We wouldn't have a Vite today without Webpack most likely, and Webpack probably wouldn't have existed without Browserify, which was I don't know, predecessor, but, you know, they all kinda riffed off and learned about previous ones, so that you know, so, but it's
yeah,
just I think there's so much amazing tooling right now. It's definitely a even though it's overwhelming, I think it's an amazing time to be a web developer right now.
absolutely. I'm super excited about this stuff because like I wrote about in that post that you linked to. It's like where I get excited is the stuff that I couldn't really do or couldn't really do easily before. And
Yeah,
now it's actually relatively easy to do, which is like I can intercept the request coming in and tweak the request in some way if I need to. And then I can intercept the response going out and I can tweak that response. Even to the point of like modifying the HTML that's returned. So that's like,
yeah,
based on, so, the request coming in, I can check to see whether you're authenticated and or, maybe, things like that. And then it redirect you if not, or
mhm,
maybe even the request, I want to say like, oh, hey, we've got a language version. We just want to redirect you to like that, your language specific version, your localized
yeah,
version based on where you're coming from or from around the world. Whereas like, I don't have to rely on server side or client side redirects for that kind of stuff, which are slow.
yeah,
This just happens automatically. Right. And I can do that authentication stuff or coming back. Like if you look at Salma's post that you link to, like I can say, oh, hey, I'm going to go ahead and tweak the contents of this HTML for the A/B testing we were talking about. That's where it's like, oh
mhm,
man, it's not quite there yet. Cause like, it's not
yeah,
easy to use like A/B testing libraries on the edge yet. Like imagine right now, a lot of them either happen on server side or on the client. And so like, if it's on server side, I have to A/B test, I have to have every single request be server rendered in order to actually work with A/B testing. Or if it's on the client, well, I risk like that flash of rendering stuff,
yeah, yeah, for
where
sure.
somebody sees it and it switches, or I have to try to work around that. Um, if I could A/B test at the edge, I don't need either of that. It could be a static page, and I could still A/B test it, and you won't see any flash of rendering stuff because it just happens when the request is coming back before they ever get it. Okay, so there's just
Yeah.
lots of really cool stuff you can do that way.
Yeah, no, it totally, and, like, you know, like we were saying before, you can do server-side rendering, SSR, incremental or static, or, you know, single page application, multi-page application, or as I like to call it, what a website used to be called before Strass existed.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we have to add an
but
acronym to everything nowadays, right? Like it's
yeah,
like, even SSR, it's like SSR is basically, that's how I was building websites when I started building websites. Like now
yeah, yeah,
everything was SSR. Like it was, we didn't call it SSR. That was just
yeah, for
how you
sure.
built a website.
Yeah, but I really like I mean, we're gonna dig into some code in a bit, but, I really like the example you were saying about authentication and, like, you can have a static site, so, like, I could have my blog and, like, maybe I have, like, a paid tier for certain blog posts and, like, I could just have it under a route, like, slash, I don't know, community slash post or whatever, but like you can literally just have that small edge function and boom, it handles it. There's no like it's just so I don't want to say easy, but it's relatively painless to pop in an edge function
Mm.
and just all of a sudden you can gate that whole part of your code base, which is I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And these things are fast. Like not only I mean they upload fast, but also like they run very quickly because it's that's not something we got into yet. But like one of the other things is, and I think it depends on where you're using the edge functions, but like the time allotted for an edge function to run can vary, but typically you
Yes.
want them to be very quick. So I think most of the providers allow for only short periods of time for them to run in terms of the
Yeah.
CPU.
Yeah. There's a lot of, there's a lot of restrictions on that. Obviously you want it to be fast. So that's
Yeah,
typically fine, but it is something to be aware of that you cannot like, they, they cannot even, I mean, Lambdas have restrictions too, but you can sometimes override that stuff. This is not, can't really override it, and it's not as generous a restriction because it should be very fast.
yeah,
Um,
no, exactly.
Although you can layer functions on top of each other, theoretically get any of this stuff done. Is it a good idea? I don't know, but like you can route a function through, and it can have, it doesn't have to go through one single edge function. It can actually go through multiples. Like middleware works that way in Next.js and other stuff. So like you can have the middleware and then still have an edge function that applies to that root. So like you can have multiple layers of it. If you
Yeah,
have complex things that you have to accomplish, just obviously all of this is going to impact the, especially when it's running on basically every request, you have to think about like, okay, all of this is going to actually impact the response time of my application.
yeah, no, 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 for sure. And so kind of, I don't think you mentioned at the beginning, but this will be my segue for us to maybe dig into some code. But so
Yeah.
you've been big in the Jamstack community for a long time, just web dev in general, and uh, part of that is you have a lot of great events that you run. So you have one site called cfe.dev, which the name's escaping me what it stands for again at the moment. It's
So it was originally, when I started, it was certified fresh events.
oh, okay,
Uh,
okay. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the name, but it was too long. Like the domain name was
Okay.
certifiedfreshevents.com. So I just kind of, once the .dev domain names came out, I'm like, oh, I'm grabbing one. CFE, make it easy. But yeah, no, I should do a better job of, I guess, making it understandable why it's cfe.dev. But
It's easy. It's definitely easy to remember. Like, and I always even if I don't see the URL, I always recognize the social card. Like it's usually like not caricatures, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
they're
the actual
caricatures.
profile photo. Yeah, I guess caricatures.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's just, but yeah. So there's that. There's a lot of things you run here. Just want to give some shameless plugs to you here for now. There's more serverless, which is I think it's a yearly event. Is that right?
Yes,
Typical.
that one's a yearly event. It's usually in late summer, really, like, yeah, late summer, basically. So more
Okay.
serverless is obviously all about serverless stuff.
Yeah.
That's a 1 day event. Um, then we have the jam.dev, which is coming up in 2 weeks, actually, 2 weeks from today, which is a Jamstack focused event. And that's 2 days. It's all virtual, obviously. All the stuff on CFE.dev is virtual. So it's two
Okay.
days of speakers. And the key thing to like is it's all free. Like it's not
Yeah.
just free, it's free to attend all of these things. So most months we run 2 meetups with speakers um, that come and present something on a
Mhm.
wide variety of topics, not just Jamstack. It's like everything. Um, and then we also have a couple of what I call talk shows. It's basically like what we're doing here,
Okay.
but it's also published as a podcast. So we
Okay.
run those twice a month. So basically, every week we have something going on. We have great guests and speakers and things like that. And then a couple times a year we have like different conferences, and all of that's free. Archives are all free. Everything at this point. There were points when I like tried charging for like training and stuff like that. But at this
Mhm.
point, I've been able to kind of get sponsors to help me make it so it's all free. So even if I run like a workshop or something, um,
Okay.
that's free. Yeah. So
Cool,
trying to
cool.
make it all free as best as I can, all free.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And aside from, I know you got another question there, Rudix, I'll get to that in a sec. The reason why I'm bringing this all up too, aside from them being really great resources, there's something that's been kind of bothering you on the cfe.dev site for a while now, which is getting localized date times on the site. And we were discussing earlier today that that might be something fun to explore. We can see how far we can get, but this is a perfect use case of an edge function. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah,
We're going to steal
so I
Salma's code from that post you linked earlier. Take her code and see if we can get this to work so that we can localize the date time. But to answer Rudix's question, yes, you're getting into a whole other can of worms here. There are databases on the edge. We were talking about it a little bit earlier with the one on Cloudflare, and it was Planet Scale, I think, has, and there's some other offerings. There's a handful of offerings that the databases on the edge is very new. Um, in every case, I believe that I've looked into it, they are replicated. The reads are replicated, meaning
yeah,
so the data gets replicated across all the edge nodes. Um, but when you write, you're still writing to a central single location, which for the purposes of that, probably totally. I mean, I think that works. What you want is fast reads. The writes are less of an issue. And then, the only other thing to consider, which is actually comes up with a lot of things, Edge, is all of this replication happens extremely fast, but it tends to be, there's a lag. Like, so you can, like I've noticed, for instance, because LaunchDarkly, for instance, has flags that we can deploy to the edge, right? Like on Cloudflare, we have
yeah,
an integration with Cloudflare. And so I'll notice, like, I flip a flag. Most of the time, it's like, it's immediate. Like, I get it, right?
yeah,
Flags change. I see it on my application. Flags work. Flags change. And then, but there was a number of times I'm like, okay, what's going on? Something's not working. It's just not, it's not taking. Um, and it just turned out to be like, they hide this. It's not really that obvious. You got to dig in, but it's like, can be up to 90 seconds for the replication of KV to,
mhm,
for to KV to replicate across all the nodes. So it can be up to a minute and a half between when I actually make a change and that change being reflected to everybody around the globe. Right. So that's the same thing you're gonna run into with the databases that you have to consider is like, depending on how real time you need that data to be, there could
yeah,
be a lag in that. You're thinking about, like, it's got to replicate a massive data across all these copies around the globe. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
they could do it fast is amazing to me. Getting back to like our talk, like it's amazing time to be a developer, but like, it's just, that's amazing. But then, you don't think about it and you're like, why isn't this working? This is not working. Refresh, refresh, refresh. And it turns out it's just
yeah,
replicating. Give it a moment. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm still interested in this, to see what happens with that space, because that's not something I specialize in at all. It's something more I want to be a consumer of. But yeah, again,
Yeah.
like we were saying before, kind of early days of Edge still, but exciting. So I think a lot of these problems are going to be sorted out over time for sure.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
I think so too. I think also you'll start to see, I think it's going to be getting people's edges talking to each other better.
Mhm.
That's, everybody has their own edge. If I deploy this piece and it gets to push to edge functions, not edge on Fastly, and then I push this other piece and it's deployed to edge on AWS. It's like,
Yeah.
can we find ways to make these things, um, communicate better so that we can eliminate that latency issue between
Yeah.
talking between those pieces.
Yeah. The other thing you're asking there, Rudis World, I, uh, uh, I don't know for Edge, but I know for, like Brian was saying, when you deploy your serverless functions, you can choose where you put it. but I don't
Yeah.
know if you have a choice when you deploy Edge. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Okay. I don't, I've never tried to because it would slightly defeat, but I think,
Yeah.
okay, I have a vague memory of reading something in an AWS announcement where I could choose like an area to deploy something
Okay.
edge. But I seem to recall that being AWS specific. I don't know if you can do that
Yeah.
with Cloud Player.
Yeah. But
Uh,
but
yeah.
getting to what you were saying is I think it would be kind of counterproductive to what the edge is, which is just put it as in many places as possible to provide as best an experience for your users. So but I would suggest just doing some good Googling on that Reddit world.
Yeah.
um cool, cool. I'm gonna just switch over to pairing view here, Brian.
All
Um
right.
so, another thing is, I don't know if you want to drop it, but 'cause I don't have it available with me at the moment. But so the cfe.dev site is it's publicly available on GitHub. So I don't know. Do you accept like external contributors, or is it really more? It's just there for.
Yeah. I would happily accept external contributors. That's just never happened to me.
Okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
No,
I
cool,
think
cool.
I have somebody else who like runs his shows, like talk shows. Sean C. Davis does that. So he
Okay,
will, it's the only other person I think who's ever submitted a contribution to the site.
okay, gotcha, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, so it's all open source, and so
And it's built
briefly
in
from what
Tuco.
I yeah, so it's a statically generated site. So tying into what we were talking about Edge before, even with statically generated sites, Edge functions can still manipulate and serve new or updated HTML. So, and this is what we want to do for this particular site. So, I guess, I guess I don't know if it's all.
So,
Oh, whoops! I got to start the site. I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
oh yeah, you're running it locally. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking like as a first pass, maybe we can tweak the navigation. So if you look at the navigation, like
Yeah.
elements, they have the full
Ah, okay. Like here.
local time. Yeah. So like see, it says 11 a.m. Eastern time. I think
Okay.
that would be kind of the fun, like a good place to start kind
Yeah.
of
No,
using,
for sure.
tweak those.
And I'm just gonna go to the live site for a sec to show the difference. So you can see here, it has the UTC time, which is still good because then it's everybody gets the proper time, but they have to adjust
Mhm.
it. So um um it's not Brian's site. It's a event site that Brian does run, but I'll drop links to yeah, it's a community he runs. I dropped a couple links. So remotesynthesis.com is Brian's blog, and then there's CFE Dev, which is what we're looking at now.
Yep.
And yeah, just for some of the folks that joined, so cfe.dev, like Brian was saying, it's a community, and there's a lot of free talks and events that go on here. If you just go up a bit in the chat, there's more serverless that will be coming around again this year. The jam.dev is happening, you said, in 2 weeks?
Two
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm looking at the live site here now, and whoops. So we can see it's got a UTC time. And if I come back to the actual site that I'm running locally, I'm in Eastern time. I'm in Montreal, so I'm seeing 11 a.m. EST. So this is
I
what
like how you
we
moved to art on a side note. You moved to art. Huh?
yeah. I've been
I
on
have
it.
it set up and I just like, I'm like, ah, it's just so, it takes a little bit of work for me to commit. Because then I got to get rid of all my tabs and get them open. And
Yeah, no, it's yeah, little tangent for a minute, but yeah, I think I started using Arc about 4 months ago, maybe even 5 months ago. I finally got an invite, and if anybody does want an invite, I can send you one. Um, but it's Chromium based, so obviously folks who in terms of diversity in the web, that's a whole other topic. There's only Firefox and Chromium really these days. I mean, there's also Safari still, but I know when a lot of these browsers went, like for example, Edge, the new Edge from Microsoft, they went all in on Chromium and just building off of that. Brave browser, a lot of the browsers are basically using Chromium, the open source project of Chrome these days, and yeah, Arc went the same way. Uh, you know, uh, that's a whole other topic about browser diversity. But I really like this browser because well, one, I was able to bring in all my extensions I currently use. But for me at least, it's fixed a lot of the pain points I've had with browsers. I'm typically like, in this mode where I'm not even seeing my tabs anymore, and if I do Command L, I can just go to a new browser tab, or there's like I don't have it right now, but if I come here, yeah, so it opens up kind of like if you ever used Alfred or like Raycast, which is a newer kind of version of Alfred. I don't know, I've just got there's just a lot of things it does where I don't feel like my browser's cluttered anymore, and like just other things like if I switch tabs and I have a YouTube video that I was watching about something, like I was watching like say for example cfe.dev, it'll automatically pop out the video for me even though I go to another tab and stuff. There's like a lot of things that I think they get really right in terms of UX, at least for me. So and it's Chromium still, so basically all the Chrome stuff still works, and so
Yeah.
that's why I've switched to it. It took me a little
I've
while to get
I
used to it for streaming though.
yeah, I really I like a lot of those things that you mentioned. It's just like I just need to just pick a week and say, okay, this week I'm moving everything over and we're gonna give it a shot, see if I can live with it. Um,
Yeah.
it's just it's always like it's a commitment when you're especially your browser which you live like in all day long. So
Yeah,
anyway,
for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, yeah, I think if you take that 1 week of saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna commit to it," your brain will hurt for like a couple days, and then at least for me, that's how it happened. And then I was just like, I just got into my workflow, and it was all good. So
yep,
okay,
cool. All right,
cool.
let's see
Yeah,
if
so
we can
let's
do this.
yeah, okay. So I guess let's kind of talk high level what we want to do here. So if I inspect this, and it's probably going to disappear on hover, but okay, let's do a few things here. Okay, so we got the date here. Let me just zoom this in a bit here.
I am gonna actually locally so because I know where most of the stuff is and I can do a better
Okay,
job of directing you to where things are.
cool. All right, so we have like a time element here, which is so Brian's using semantic HTML here, which is a good thing, and there's the render time. So basically, what we want to do with this edge function is whenever we hit a page, we might not tackle all of them, but basically, we want to find probably a time element, and we want to insert the local time uh, instead of just, I mean, obviously right now I'm running locally, so it's showing my local time, but that's kind of what we want to do. And with
So
edge functions, you can do this. You can modify the markup like that. So that's essentially the game plan. And we might not get this deployed today, but it's just more just to have some fun and see what we can do here and see how far we can get. So I'm gonna just move over to VS Code here. So I already have the site running. I have it all loaded up here. Um, so I'm gonna stop the server for a sec, and this is deployed to Netlify. But like we were saying with the edge functions, there's other providers, whether you deploy to Cloudflare or using Vercel or Fastly or whatever. The idea is the same, but since we're in Netlify, what I can do is I can just bootstrap an edge function if you want, and then we can kind of go from there. Does that sound okay?
sounds great.
Okay. So for folks not familiar with the Netlify CLI, it's either Netlify or NTL for short. And there's some commands here. So I'm going to do an NTL functions create. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me two options. Do I want to create an edge function or a serverless function? So in our case, we want to create an edge function. I'll keep it simple for now. I'm a fan of TypeScript, but let's just we can go JavaScript for now. And okay, so I'm gonna just pick the localized content example, and we can kind of work from there. So we could just, I don't know, I guess we could call it localized time maybe, or we can always rename it, but
Yeah, that's fine.
okay. All right. And what route do you want? Slash localized time. Sure. Cool. And okay, so what that did is, so that's created our function for us now, just because like, even though I work there, I forget half the time how to bootstrap it. So I just do this. Um,
Yeah.
so, n- so now we're going to have this function here now. So this is what we really want to work with. And okay, let's hide that. Okay. So, okay. So, I guess before we get started, so we can kind of explain, we kind of talked about this before in terms of, I guess API, a standard API for Edge runtime. So, and a couple of those things are requests and response. So like we have here the response, and these are things you can just go, if you just go MDN response, you're going to get the full API for it. It's the same ones that you
Yeah.
use in the browser. So in this case, for Netlify, and a lot of them provide a context object as well, this is where we can get some information. So like we can get geolocation information, like the country code, the name, somewhere in the world, whatever. Um, so um, yeah, so that's kind of where we can start, I think. So um, I guess the first thing would be is we want to, uh, when we hit that page, I guess how we're going to hit a particular page, and then we want all the pages to hit the edge function first, right?
Yes. So effectively, I guess it's more the concept of almost like a middleware,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, exactly.
where, it's going to, and in this case, because we're dealing with the navigation, it would basically be run on every single page on the site because that nav appears everywhere. It's a global nav.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we would need to, okay, cool. And I'm just, I'm drawing a blank here in terms of the
yeah,
routes to pick it up. I've also, for context, if you missed it at the beginning, I've been on vacation for quite a long time, so my brain's a little sizzled at the moment too. Um,
yeah. Okay. So we are going to do, okay. So to do memory, I'm going to look it up too, because I've done this stuff in various different providers. And then
yeah.
how it works. I, I know I've messed with it on Netlify, but I
Oh,
have not.
rewrite.
Okay. So
Yeah. Here we go. Edge functions. I, I'm kind of laughing at myself because it's just me. Okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, the path is just, yeah, slash star. Sorry. So edge function. Yeah. So basically,
yeah,
yep, it's
path,
just the path.
that's where you specify.
Yeah, that
There
was
you
just
go.
me. That's my brain unsizzling. Okay, so basically right now, this every request to, we could refine that later maybe, but basically any page we request, it's gonna run the localized time edge function, and that's where we can manipulate the request and provide a new response. So let's save that, and we can actually see this in action most likely. Let's see here. Let's just
Actually, in theory, if you ran the site, right, every page now would just return your personalized greeting
yeah, exactly.
because we've
So let's,
overridden the response entirely. We're
yeah,
not returning any content. I believe it should do that.
yeah,
Uh,
cool. So it's just adding some integrations for, uh, okay. Did that do that? Oh yeah, there we go. So just like Brian said, so now we know that the edge function is working. We're doing this locally, obviously, but it's kind of nice. So now we know that we can manipulate the current any request that comes into the site. So, and I think now would be a good time. I can pop up Salma's blog post. We can definitely figure it out. But might as well just look at an existing resource.
Yeah, she's got
And
the code there for the string of this.
here, yeah. So, okay. So here, so she has an example of it's just like a static page, doesn't matter what it is. And then if we come down here, where is it? Yeah, so we want to transform it. Let me find the code. Okay, we've already done all of that. Okay, so here we go. So we can basically, in her case, she's doing a regex to replace it. So we could do that. I think there's other ways we could do it, but this is definitely one way we can do it. And you can see here, so based on, well, certain criteria she has, so like there's this transform that's not a transform, but she's getting the location, and then she's updating this kind of token in the page to say location unknown, replace it with this other thing. And I'm just trying to see if she has anything else in here.
It's interesting. I gotta admit, I wasn't aware that HTML rewriter was something that existed in Dino. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
so we
I should have known that, I guess. Is
yeah,
that
I
in
don't know when
is
it
that
got.
regular Dino? Is that something Netlify adds on?
I actually don't know. I can't remember if we added that or not, honestly. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, because
because
there's
HTML
yeah,
rewriter I was like something that was added to for
came from
workers.
Cloud.
I was for work first was the first place I saw it. They had a
Yeah,
class.
I can't remember if we added it or uh if Dino
It
added
looks
it.
like
'Cause
Dino has it. Yeah. So for folks who
yeah,
are like we're listening, HTML rewriter is just, it's I think of it like jQuery but you're not working in the DOM. You're working just with HTML responses. So it
yeah,
allows you to like do selectors and things to say like, okay, if you find this particular selector, then run this, we can do this replace of that content. So we'll get the
yeah,
content, we actually replace the content and things like that. So in this
yeah,
case, I guess,
and it is
yeah.
in Dino, like you're saying. So it says here. Um,
So she is doing it, and hers, she's doing it on data dash time. So
yeah,
she must be adding in her um in her
it's like
code, she has to be adding that time and that it looks like what she's doing is actually the entire time
oh, what is
string
it?
without any kind of formatting applied.
Yeah, because like unless there's another part, I think she's just using the regex. Is she using the HTML rewriter in here? I don't see it. Or is it down here?
Uh, uh, um,
Maybe it is. No, she's not using the
I'm looking.
HTML.
I'm looking at this particular one.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to
I put
drop
it
it
in
in the
the chat.
chat.
But
Okay, yeah.
Netlify, how to get your time. This is where she does exactly
Yeah.
um, what we're trying to do. I was
Yeah.
going down to
Okay, yeah.
her last uh, bunch of code at the very bottom.
Okay,
Format
yeah.
and
Oh,
load.
so she is using it. Okay, yeah. Cool, cool. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we can use the HTML rewriter. I can import it. I can't remember if we have it. I can't remember if it's I maybe we don't have it quite just yet. I don't know. But anyways, we can pull it in. It doesn't matter. Let me just add
She's
that.
doing it. She is using Netlify's edge functions in this, as far as I know. Isn't she? Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a edge function. What I mean is she's importing it from the worker
Oh,
calls.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. I
I'll
think it's
just
built.
add that up top. Yeah.
I guess we can throw it in there. And if it doesn't work, we know it does not build.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I've got like this, suddenly this dog is very needy. It decides it has to be on my lap.
That's all good. HTML rewriter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Return. So let's just grab this whole chunk here, I guess. Let me just copy it in first, and then we'll.
Okay.
That's nice that she added the pluses in the before of the of the element, so I don't have to actually remove all those pluses from the code. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let's take a peek at this. Uh, yeah, sure. Uncache, that's fine. Okay. Uh, Element, date string, blah, blah, blah. So in our case, we want to, sorry, my screen's moving here. First stream back. All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, so let's just kind of walk through what's happening here just to explain. So like you were saying, uh here she's getting the locale, and if not, she defaults to Britain because that's where she's in the UK. We're getting the next response, which you get through context.next, and then we're returning this HTML writer, and then we're saying on, and this is where this is a CSS selector here. So like
Yeah.
you were saying, in this particular case, she's looking for the data-time attribute. We're gonna look for the full time element, right? So
Yeah.
okay, cool. And from there's a function. So we get the element based on the CSS selector, and we're
She's
not going to
getting
get
it,
this
but we need to get basically
inner
the
text.
inner HTML, I guess, or inner
Yeah,
text. Yeah.
inner text. Yeah, okay, cool. So this is going to get us the date. So like just just so folks know, let's close this. Yeah, so that's going to give us. Oh, I have I have our edge function running, so I can't show it. But basically, we're gonna get the time element, we're getting the inner text, and then we're gonna get the localized time. So we have the locale here, and where is it? Yeah, up here. And then just using, sorry, I'm scrolling too fast here. The date object, um, there's this toLocale string, so we're doing this server side. This is something like you were talking about, the flash of content on the client side. You could do this on the client side, but then you're gonna get that blip.
Yes.
So yeah. So now here we're getting the time zone and all that stuff, and then we're setting the inner content of that element to the localized time. So I think this should just work. I'm not positive.
Yeah, and
Is it?
maybe.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna save this and
Well,
see.
yeah, I'd be surprised if it did outright, but like we could try it. It,
Yeah.
it shouldn't error at least.
Yeah. So if we come back here, okay. Now if we hover over, okay, invalid date, but it is actually updating it now. So
Yes,
so
which is
we're
actually
already
yes.
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we made a big step there. So like folks can see, like, keep in mind, this is a fully static page. And
Yeah.
basically what the edge function is doing is taking the response that's being sent back. It's the HTML rewriter is parsing the response HTML that we're passing into it. And we're saying like, look for this element and
Yeah.
then change it and modify the response and send it back to the user.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm just console.log. Let's see what the date string is, because I just want to see if that is okay. Localized time under. Okay. Actually,
What
let
is the
me.
value of the element inner text? Is it
Yeah, that's
actually
what I wanted to see.
yeah.
Uh, Date string. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, let's save that. And cool. Now let me come back and just refresh the page, and then I'll check the logs.
Yeah, it looks
That
like it's
refresh.
still undefined.
Okay, look, undefined. Okay, so
Yeah, we
interesting.
need to return like what is element dot inner text. Can you
Yeah,
console log element dot inner text? Oh wait, that is element dot inner text.
yeah. I don't think it's console logging it though,
Oh yeah, for some reason it's because I don't even see your date string.
unless it's. It seems to be just trying to see. No, no, that's all Hugo's stuff. localized. It seems to keep rerunning. Let me just stop it and rerun it. And let's come back here. Let's give that a sec. All right. Invalid date. That's fair. Why is it not? Okay, date string undefined. Okay. So the inner text is, it's not pulling the inner text. So let's see what, just for fun, I want to do element dot outer HTML. I just want to make sure it's actually finding the time element. I mean, it should be, but hold on. Just make sure. Okay, so it's not the element. What is the element then? I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not finding the selector. Let's see. Okay, element. Interesting. Element pointer. Okay. Right.
Hold on. I am gonna look here back to her, see what she was doing, because she reselected it into the element that get. Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay. Okay. I think in this case, element is because there's a set inner content. So I think what we need to do is element dot. Is there a get inner content? Maybe there's a get inner content.
Here, where did it go? I think that's part of whatchamacallit, the HTML rewriter. Because if we,
yes,
where is it? Go to definition.
And you need it down, girly.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, no,
So
I'll get.
the
Yeah, no,
element,
this is in.
yes,
Yeah, this is the HTML rewriter. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
because that's where it gets to, the stuff is a little bit different when it's HTML rewriter.
Okay, so I think we want to find out whatever the get inner content is.
I'm looking. Okay, HTML rewriter.
Content.
No.
I guess I could probably do get attribute inner text, maybe.
Hold on.
Because that's attributes. Let's see here. Set inner content.
I'm looking at the Cloudflare version here with it. Which it says it.
Yeah, it's got to be HTML rewriter set. Yeah, let me look at hers again.
Before. So element.
Oh, you know what it is?
Element. Okay, here we go. Tag name, attributes removed. Get attribute, has attribute, set attribute, remove attribute, before, after, pre-parent. Repay.
Yeah, I wonder if, because get attribute is the, let's see, let's just look up HTML rewriter get inner text. Access nested elements. So let me zoom this in. Anyways, for those, I saw a few more people joined in here. So we're just having the usual fun with live coding where things aren't working perfectly, but but on the plus side, we already have our edge function. It looks
like it's just text, by the way.
Okay. You're talking about, where did I go here?
It looks like element, it's just be element.text.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I don't know why it's not showing up in there. That would make sense, because that's, let's come back up here. And that's probably a getter, like a function. Let's see what that gives us.
Oh, this is where it gets really confusing. Okay, since Cloudflare, okay, this is on Cloudflare, zero streaming parsing. Text chunks are not the same thing as text nodes.
Okay. You know what we could do though is, what's that events page? I just want to try something. Event. I guess it's this page. Okay.
Hold on. Let me see.
Or no, oh, of the
You want to,
navigation?
yeah. So you could add it into the time element it's under, layouts, partials, navigation.html.
Okay,
And it's
'cause
right about it's line 126. So we could add the attribute if we wanted to do it that way.
yeah, exactly, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it obviously, there's another way to do it, but, just for, here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just so we
so
can
date
actually get it working.
format. So this is the UTC, this is the tea time, right? Or
Yeah. So what we want to do, actually, you could just do, um, you should be able to do the attribute like the date. Yeah, that she did. And then just do dot date.
okay, so date,
You don't even need you don't need the formatting. Just do dot date. I mean, you could leave
okay,
the form if you want, but anyway,
okay,
yeah,
just do
leave it
dot.
for now.
Okay, let's see what that gives us.
Yeah,
And then we're
let's
gonna get the date time attribute. Let's come back here. So again, for folks joining, so it's CSS selector. We're getting a so we're getting an attribute. So you need to use the square brackets. So we're gonna get date time, and then what was she doing before, after, when it was date time? I can't remember.
She was doing get attribute daytime.
Okay, yeah,
Element
that
dot
makes
get
sense.
attribute daytime.
That makes sense. Date time. Cool. All right, so that should give us something, hopefully. So let's do console.log date string. All right, let's see what we get here. Okay, perfect. So we're getting the actual date now, which is
Yep.
good. And now if we come back here,
So if we look, well, does it actually work now?
okay, so yeah, it works now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
to
so in
test
this
it,
case, I mean, it's actually, it is, okay. So it's still, is okay. So we need to replace the contents of that element though,
oh
right?
yeah,
So
sorry. Yeah, so that's my bad. Yeah, it's the no, but we are setting the inner content.
we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
try putting something in there. So we know that this is actually the replaced one and not the one that was right.
yeah, for sure.
Like as in
And
try putting like localized time and then, yeah, just add a string
understood.
there. Yeah.
Okay, let's give that a sec. So did it? No, it isn't, eh? Okay, let's see here. And is it the right port? I just want to, because I know it generated another port before. Let me just load it up again. We're getting there. We're close.
Yeah. I think at least it's not erroring.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not there, but if we inspect, uh, okay, it's not putting the date time. Is that because
Yeah,
that
why is
attribute?
the attribute's not there?
Yeah. So if I come back to, is there something I need to do in terms of rebuilding the site? I have date time.
It's tight. It's,
It's definitely
okay.
there.
There should
Let's
not be
see.
anything you need to do to rebuild the nav. 'Cause
Okay.
you're running locally. So this is
Yeah.
meetups, nav space. Let me try something. I'm going to try this on mine locally.
Okay. I'm just
And
gonna peek
see
around here. But that makes sense that it's not doing anything. Then obviously it's the HTML rewriter is not picking up anything. But uh, okay.
all right.
Let's
I'm
see
running
here.
it locally too to see, make sure if I can actually add. I don't know if maybe it doesn't matter if it's called date time without a dash or not. I don't think it matters.
In Hugo, I can just do dot date local if I don't want the date format. Is that it? Like
So
this?
you could do just dot date. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't even need local. Gotcha.
Yeah. Local is is localizing it, which
Yeah.
we're not great.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
If I add that
okay.
attribute, it gets stripped out even on mine here. Why is that
Interesting.
attribute getting stripped out?
Okay. On the plus side, even though we haven't fixed it yet, we do know it's actually like running the edge function and doing the replacing. It's just not doing what we need, but that's okay. I wonder why.
So this is, hold.
I'm gonna stop the Hugo site for a sec, and I'm just gonna change the path to something weird for a second, and I'm just gonna rerun it, and I just want to see that it gives me the actual.
Maybe, oh, oh, this is my bad.
Okay,
I am having you modify the wrong line. This is actually
okay,
it may actually be working, but it's modifying. Right now we're modifying the, I miscommented on it.
okay,
This is not the subnav for the meetups. This is the subnav for the talk shows.
okay.
So
So let's take a peek.
if
Okay, so
instead
it's
you
working.
modify line, if you say, yeah, yep, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Okay,
it's, hey, it works. It worked. It worked.
okay,
There we go.
cool. So let's just do a bit of cleanup
I-
here.
As is
Okay,
typical in working in this kind of stuff, right? Like the mistake ends up being something dumb. In this case, my mistake. Uh,
okay. So now it's grabbing 24-hour time, but yeah, Tuesday 17th January, and I just want to do a test. So right now we're getting the accept language header, but I'm gonna default to Great Britain for now just to see, and let's see
mhm.
what we get. I imagine it'll be 5 hours ahead, or it should be. Let's go. Did it rebuild? Hello. Is there anything else different we need to do here? It's definitely updating it though, because we saw that.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
it's
all that said,
definitely up to.
yeah. So just to give a recap to folks, because I know we're close to time and I want to be mindful of your time. Um, so this is pretty awesome. So we have a static site. So cfe.dev is a Hugo statically generated site. And then we have this edge function here, localized time, and it's intercepting. So basically any path that gets hit on the cfe.dev site will run through this localized time function. And we're using something called an HTML rewriter. This is something that Cloudflare open source, which is a really great tool. And we're literally saying here, go find me and we could probably be more specific, but I don't think anything else would have a date time. But we're saying, okay, go find me an element with this date time attribute. When we find it, let's run the element function or method, sorry. And then we have the element here, and then we're going to say, go get that attribute date time. And that's what we're pulling in from here in the Hugo template that generates the date time with a value for the attribute. And once we have that, we set the inner content, so like the inner text or inner HTML of the time element on the page with the actual localized time. So this is I think this is pretty neat, and this is a real world use case. It's not just us doing like a fun demo. This is something you actually need. So I think it's cool that even though we stumbled a little bit there in the beginning, I think it's great that we've got something working here, and this is something that folks can do in their own sites. Like I know my blog posts is probably less important, but because I do have a date time, but if you have something where you're hosting events, and it's typically statically generated pages, this is definitely a good candidate. And even if it isn't statically generated pages, you're still handling this at the edge versus doing this in your server side rendering. It's kind of like you were saying, Brian. Think of this as like a middleware to do something before you're actually giving the full page load to somebody. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
this is really great. Um,
Exactly.
and
Like, just to reiterate what you said, basically, I mean, in we're only testing locally, so nobody can see it, but like every user, depending on where they came from, we get a different version of this page, even though it's static. Right?
Yeah,
Uh, and
exactly.
there's no with zero client-side JavaScript, right,
Yeah,
for that.
that's what's super important because again, just another thing to mention what you mentioned, it's if you ever see the acronym FOUC, it's a flash of unstyled content, is what Brian was referring to, where you can literally do this same code in the client side, but you're gonna see well in our case, because we have no date time showing right now, it's in an attribute, you would get this blank date and then it would just go kind of blow up. And so that can actually penalize you in terms of lighthouse and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, and this is just I don't know, this is just really cool, and I like that we're using like a real world use case as opposed to like here's a to do app kind of
Yeah.
demo kind of thing. So
I
yeah, no,
will
this
get
is
it
super cool.
working. When I
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
I'll share it with you. I'll post about it. I'll be like, "Okay, took her stuff and got it working on cfe.dev, but here's how I did it." You know?
yeah. No, yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, we got a couple minutes left here, so I think this is a good place to stop. I really enjoyed this conversation. We dug into all things serverless and serverless edge, and we actually got to dig into some code and actually help you out for your own site, which is pretty awesome. Um, I'm gonna drop some links again for yourself there. So if folks want to check out Brian's blog, i- there's also the CFE dev, which is what we were actually working on, and I'll find it again. But there's the the jam.dev starting in two
Yeah, 2
weeks. I'm
weeks.
just gonna
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
it's actually HTTPS the jam.dev if you want to
Okay,
use the you don't have to get the full URL. Like it
gotcha,
redirects. It's still on CFE, but it redirects.
gotcha.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Yeah, I guess anything else you want to mention before we call it a day?
Uh, well, if, I mean, obviously, if anybody has any questions about LaunchDarkly, I'm here to talk feature flags as well. So yeah, that's really it. You know, yeah,
Cool.
and we
Yeah,
do
and
have a
I'm just gonna.
Jamstack book. Ray Kim and I wrote Jamstack book. If anybody
Oh yeah.
from
Okay.
Manly, yeah, the Jamstack book. It's called. It's very definitive. We are the Jamstack book. Um,
Okay. I'm gonna just go find that real quick here, and then we can call it a day. The Jamstack book, Camden, Rinaldi.
yeah, if you just do Camden, I think there's only one.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
All right. So check that out. If you're super interested about the Jamstack. Um, Yeah. Thanks again, Brian. I know you always
Yeah,
have a
thanks.
lot on the go. You had the CFE yesterday with Tiff. I saw. I was in Costa Rica, so I couldn't catch that one. But
Yeah.
um, I definitely encourage folks to check out cfe.dev. There's always a lot of great stuff going on there. And yeah, thanks again, Brian. This has been super fun, and I'm really happy that we actually got something working for you. I know it's not deployed yet,
Yeah, thanks.
but cool, cool.
I
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. And I'll just drop the schedule for next week. I think we got Mark Noonan from Cyprus next week, and also Brandon Roberts from Open Sauce. Going to be talking about just open source and some Angular stuff, which I haven't done in a long time. Last time, I don't know when you did Angular last, but me, it was 1.4 back in like 2015, 2016. So
Yeah. Yeah, the only time I messed with Angular was back when it was called Angular JS.
oh yeah, that's right. It's called something else different too now. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. So check out the schedule. Lots of great guests coming on. And yeah, thanks again, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Bye, everybody.